My heart stopped when I overheard my son's voice through the thin kitchen wall, sharp as a knife. "Mom's useless now," he sneered, papers rustling like secrets being buried. "She won't even notice the pension gone." His words hit me like ice water, freezing me in place as I clutched the coffee mug, the steam blurring my vision. Betrayal burned in my chest, hot and raw, from the boy I'd raised alone after his father left us penniless. And that was the moment I realized my own flesh and blood saw me as nothing but a paycheck, but I had no idea how deep his plan ran, or who else was involved. Let me take you back to where it started. I'm Evelyn Carter, 68 years old, a retired factory worker from a small Ohio town. For 40 years, I stitched gloves in a dimly lit plant, fingers calloused and back aching, saving every dime for my pension. It was my lifeline after my husband walked out when our son, Derek, was just 10. I worked double shifts, skipped meals, all to give Derek a shot at something better. He grew up with fresh clothes, school supplies, even community college tuition I scraped together. Those were the highs, watching him graduate, his proud smile as he hugged me tight. "You're the best, Mom," he'd say, and I'd believe it. But lows crept in too, like when he'd borrow money and forget to pay it back, or snap at me during visits, calling my worries old-fashioned nagging. That night, after overhearing him, I sat in my worn armchair, the fabric smelling of faded lavender soap, staring at the pension documents I'd hidden in a drawer. My hands trembled as I touched them, remembering the pride of earning every cent. Why would Derek do this? Had I failed him somehow? But as I locked the drawer, a knock echoed at the door, Derek, smiling like nothing happened, with a stranger behind him. "Mom, we need to talk about your future," he said, eyes gleaming with something dark. I froze at the bank counter, watching Derek hand over forged papers with my signature scrawled in shaky ink that wasn't mine. "This'll set us up good," he whispered to the stranger beside him, a slick man in a cheap suit, both grinning like they'd hit the jackpot. My pension, $250,000 built over decades, was about to vanish into their pockets, and the teller nodded, oblivious. That split-second betrayal clawed at my throat, making me want to scream, but the real horror was yet to unfold, as uniformed figures pushed through the doors. Rewinding to the day before, I'd woken to birds chirping outside my modest bungalow, the scent of fresh coffee filling the air. Derek had called unexpectedly, voice sweet as honey. "Mom, I'm coming over. Got a surprise for you." Hope flickered. I thought maybe he'd finally turned a corner, like the time he brought flowers on Mother's Day, his eyes soft with rare gratitude. But as he arrived, papers peeked from his jacket. We sat at the kitchen table, sunlight streaming through lace curtains I'd sewn myself. He chatted about his job struggles, how life was tough with his wife and kids. I nodded, heart aching for him, offering tea and cookies baked fresh that morning. Then, while I stepped out to the garden for herbs, I glanced back through the window. There he was, rifling through my drawers, pulling out my pension forms. His face twisted in frustration. "Useless old bat won't miss it," he muttered into his phone. The words echoed, shattering the quiet moment we'd shared. I slipped back in quietly, pretending not to notice, but inside, rage simmered. Why betray the woman who'd sacrificed everything? That evening, alone with my knitting, the yarn tangling like my thoughts, I called an old friend from the factory, a retired cop. "Evelyn, you need proof," she said gently. But as dawn broke, Derek texted, "Meeting at the bank today." Big news. And there, waiting outside, was the stranger, his business partner, ready to seal the theft. Derek's hand hovered over the withdrawal slip at the bank, his grin widening as the teller counted out crisp bills. Finally free of her nagging, he chuckled to the stranger, who nodded eagerly, eyes on the cash like a predator. My life savings, meant for quiet retirement days, slipping away in seconds, heartbreak surged, tears stinging as I hid in the shadows. This injustice boiled inside me, a storm ready to break, but the twist that followed would change everything, as sirens wailed faintly in the distance. Flashback to 2 weeks earlier, when life felt almost normal. I'd baked apple pie, the cinnamon scent warming my home, waiting for Derek's family visit. His kids rushed in, hugging my legs, their laughter a bright spot in my weary days. "Grandma's pie is the best," little Emma squealed, and for a moment, love filled the room. Derek sat heavily, complaining about bills. I listened, offering small advice, remembering how I'd taught him to budget as a boy. "You'll get through," I said, patting his hand. He smiled then, a genuine one, or so I thought. But later, clearing plates, I found a crumpled note in his pocket, bank details, my account number scribbled hastily. Unease prickled my skin. Why would he have those? I confronted him gently. "Derek, what's this?" He brushed it off. "Just helping with your finances, Mom. You're getting forgetful." The quiet hurt lingered that night, as I sipped chamomile tea, the steam rising like forgotten dreams. Had my kindness made me blind? I dug out old photos, us at the park, his small hand in mine, highs that now felt tainted. Then, the call came, Derek whispering to someone, "Yeah, the pension's ripe. Meet at the bank tomorrow." I followed them there, heart pounding, only to see the stranger hand Derek a fake ID with my name. The bank door swung open as Derek pocketed the first stack of cash, laughing with the stranger. "Mom's too trusting, useless at spotting fakes," he said, holding up the forged pension transfer form. My world spun, the fluorescent lights blurring as rage and sorrow collided in my chest. This raw humiliation gripped me, a knife twisting deeper, but the arrest that crashed in next would expose secrets I never imagined. Back to a month ago, when hope still flickered. I'd surprised Derek with homemade stew, the savory aroma drawing him in after a long day. We shared stories, him about work promotions, me about garden blooms. "You're my rock, Mom," he said, hugging me tight, a moment of warmth that melted my doubts. Yet, lows followed. He'd borrow groceries, forget repayments. I let it slide, remembering his childhood struggles, the nights I worked overtime for his shoes. But one evening, alone in my quilt-covered bed, the fabric soft from years of use, I found bank alerts on my phone, unauthorized logins. "Why me?" I whispered to the empty room, tears soaking my pillow. Betrayal seed planted, but I pushed it down, baking cookies for his kids instead, a small kindness to hold on to family. Then, extreme again, I spotted Derek at a cafe with the stranger, papers spread out. "Sign here like her," the man instructed, practicing my signature. Horror froze me. I snapped a photo from afar, evidence burning in my hand. But as I confronted Derek later, he denied it all. "You're paranoid, Mom." That night, resolve hardened. I contacted authorities quietly, setting a trap. And now, at the bank, as they celebrated, officers burst in, badges flashing. "You're under arrest for fraud," one barked, at Derek. Handcuffs clicked around Derek's wrists as officers yanked him from the bank counter, his face draining of color. "This is a mistake," he yelled, the stranger bolting but getting tackled. My pension papers scattered like confetti, the teller's wide eyes mirroring my shock. This moment of justice surged through me, bittersweet revenge, but the deeper family secrets unearthed in interrogation would shatter what little trust remained. Rewinding to 3 weeks prior, peace had briefly returned. I'd knitted a scarf for Derek, the wool soft under my fingers, imagining his grateful smile. We walked in the park, leaves crunching, talking dreams, his for a new house, mine for travel. "Love you, Mom," he murmured, a high that warmed my soul. But betrayal lurked. Bills arrived, my utilities spiked from unauthorized charges. I called the company, voice trembling, learning of linked accounts in Derek's name. Heartbreak washed over me in the quiet kitchen, the clock ticking like accusations. Reflecting by the window, rain pattering, I recalled raising him alone, the pride in his first job. Why turn now? A neighbor's kind visit with soup eased the pain momentarily, her words soothing, "You're stronger than this." Then, the extreme hit, hacking my email, I found Derek's messages to the stranger, a con artist promising quick cash. "Mom's pension is easy pickings," he wrote. Fury ignited, I alerted the FBI, providing logs. At the bank, as arrests unfolded, Derek spotted me. "Mom? You did this?" His eyes pleaded, but betrayal's sting held me firm. The fluorescent lights buzzed harshly as Derek slumped in the interrogation room, his hands cuffed, face pale as he confessed. "I needed the money, Mom's just sitting on it, useless," he muttered, his voice cracking under the weight of his own words. Across from him, the stranger, a wiry man named Vince, spilled details of their scam, pointing fingers to save himself. "It was his idea," Vince barked, gesturing at Derek. Officers scribbled notes, their pens scratching like accusations, while I stood behind the one-way glass, my chest tight with betrayal. My pension, $250,000 earned through decades of factory sweat, was the prize they'd plotted to steal. Tears burned my eyes, but I wouldn't let them fall, not here. This raw heartbreak tore at me, a wound deeper than I'd imagined, but the mention of an accomplice closer to home would unravel everything I thought I knew. Rewind to 3 weeks ago, when life still held glimmers of hope. I'd hosted Derek's family for Sunday dinner, the kitchen warm with the scent of roast chicken and mashed potatoes. His kids, Emma and Tommy, giggled as they set the table, their small hands fumbling with forks. "Grandma, you're the best cook," Emma said, her smile a bright spot in my tired heart. Derek laughed too, his arm around Sarah, his wife, and for a moment, we felt like a family again, highs that made the lows bearable. But those lows crept in like shadows. Derek had been distant, snapping when I asked about his job. "Stop worrying, Mom," he'd say, brushing off my concern. Later, washing dishes, I found a bank statement in the trash, my account, with logins I never made. Unease prickled my skin, the dishwater cold against my trembling fingers. Why would he access my accounts? I sat that night in my quilt-covered bed, the fabric soft from years of use, staring at old photos of Derek as a boy, his grin wide at a county fair. Had I missed something in him? A quiet moment came the next day, sipping chamomile tea on the porch, the steam curling like forgotten dreams. My neighbor, Clara, stopped by with homemade soup, her kind eyes steadying me. "You're tougher than this, Evelyn," she said softly, a small act of empathy that anchored me. Then the extreme hit again. Hacking into my email, risky, but desperate, I found Derek's messages to Vince. "Mom's pension is easy pickings. Sarah's on board. My daughter-in-law, too?" Shock froze me, my coffee mug slipping from my hand, shattering on the floor. I called my old factory friend, a retired cop, who urged, "Get evidence, Evelyn. Now." In the interrogation room, Derek's head snapped up. "Sarah knew everything," he admitted, voice hollow. The officer turned to me through the glass. "Mrs. Carter, we need your statement." My heart sank, how many more would betray me? Sarah's sobs echoed through the house as officers cuffed her, the metal clinking like broken promises. "It was Derek's idea, I just followed," she cried, but bank records showed her signing my pension checks. Emma and Tommy stood frozen, their small faces crumpled, watching their mom led away. My heart shattered, not just for me, but for them, grandkids caught in their parents' greed. The living room, once filled with their laughter, now reeked of betrayal, the air heavy with the scent of my lavender candles burned low. This gut-wrenching injustice seared my soul, tearing open old wounds, but a lawyer's call about recovered funds hinted at a twist that could change everything. 3 weeks earlier, I'd clung to hope at a family picnic, the Ohio sun warming my skin as I spread a checkered blanket. Derek grilled burgers, the smoky aroma mixing with the kids' squeals as they chased fireflies. "You're our rock, Grandma," Tommy said, hugging my waist. Those highs, those fleeting moments of love, kept me going through years of sacrifice, factory shifts that left my hands raw, saving every cent for my pension. But lows had crept in. My jewelry box felt lighter, heirloom rings vanished. "You're just forgetful, Mom," Derek said when I asked, his tone sharp. Alone in my attic, dust tickling my nose, I found pawn slips with his name. Heartbreak settled like a stone, the attic's dim light casting long shadows over memories of him as a boy, promising to always take care of you. A quiet moment came at church, the scent of wax candles grounding me as I prayed for strength. A parishioner, Mrs. Ellis, slipped me a rose from her garden. "You're not alone, Evelyn," she whispered, her kindness a soft balm on my raw hurt. Then the extreme struck. I overheard Sarah on the phone in my guest room, her voice low. "Derek's plan fixes everything, pension's ours." Shock rooted me to the spot, my pulse hammering as I recorded her words on my phone. I confronted her later, voice trembling. "How could you?" She stammered, "It's for the kids," but her eyes betrayed guilt. Now, with Sarah arrested, I sat in my worn armchair, the fabric soft from years of use, clutching a photo of Emma and Tommy. How could I protect them now? My lawyer's call broke the silence. "Evelyn, we've traced hidden accounts, most of your pension's recoverable, plus damages." Hope flickered, a faint light in the darkness. But as I tucked the kids into bed, their tearful questions, "Why'd Mommy do it?" cut deeper than Derek's betrayal. I kissed their foreheads, promising safety, but a new fear loomed, Derek's next move from behind bars. My lawyer, Mr. Thompson, leaned forward, his office smelling of polished wood and coffee, sliding a stack of documents toward me. "Evelyn, Derek hid assets in offshore accounts," he said, pointing to numbers that made my jaw drop, $200,000 of my pension stashed away. "We can seize it back, plus damages for fraud." Revenge sparked in my chest, sharp and sweet, but seeing Derek's mugshot on the news later, his eyes hollow, twisted a knife of sorrow through my heart. This flicker of justice felt right, but the courtroom showdown looming would test every ounce of my strength, and reveal a truth I wasn't ready for. Rewind to a month ago, when hope still clung to me like morning dew. I'd thrown Derek a small birthday party, balloons bobbing in my living room, the scent of vanilla cake filling the air. He hugged me tight, his grin wide. "You're the best, Mom," he said, and for a moment, I believed we were close again, like when he'd run to me as a boy, scraped knees and all, trusting me to fix everything. But betrayal had already taken root. Bank alerts pinged my phone, small withdrawals I hadn't made. Late at night, under the glow of my desk lamp, I pored over statements, my hands trembling as I spotted Derek's name on linked accounts. The sting of injustice burned, my cozy bedroom suddenly cold, the quilt's familiar softness no comfort against this hurt. Why would my own son steal from me? A quiet moment came the next day, pruning roses in my garden, their sweet scent calming my racing thoughts. A neighbor, Clara, brought over homemade cookies, her warm smile steadying me. "You're tougher than you know, Evelyn," she said, her kindness a small light in the fog of betrayal. Then the extreme hit. I hacked into Derek's email, heart pounding, and found his plan with Vince, the con artist. "Mom's pension is ours, Sarah's forging the checks," one message read. Fury surged, my fingers shaking as I saved screenshots for the police. I'd trusted Sarah like a daughter, cooked for her kids, and now this? In Mr. Thompson's office, hope reignited as he outlined the recovery plan. "We'll hit them hard in court," he promised. I nodded, gripping my purse, the leather worn from years of use. But that night, Derek's call from jail shattered the calm. "Mom, I'm sorry, please forgive me," he pleaded, voice breaking. My heart wavered, remembering his childhood laughter, but the evidence was ironclad. As I hung up, a new email from the lawyer arrived, "Prepare for court, Evelyn. Sarah's testifying against Derek, and naming another accomplice." Who else had betrayed me? Derek stood in the courtroom, shackled, his eyes pleading as he faced me. "I was desperate, Mom," he choked out, voice trembling, but the judge's gavel slammed, "Guilty, 7 years for fraud." Sarah, beside him, sobbed, sentenced to probation, her parental rights suspended. My grandkids, Emma and Tommy, were now in foster care temporarily, their absence a fresh wound in my heart. The courtroom smelled of stale coffee and tension, the wooden pews hard beneath me as I gripped my scarf, its soft wool no shield against this pain. This justice felt hollow, empathy for my grandkids warring with rage, but changing my will would spark a fight I hadn't anticipated. Rewind to 6 weeks ago, when hope still flickered. I'd taken Derek and the kids to a carnival, the air sweet with cotton candy and popcorn. Emma squealed on the carousel, Derek lifting Tommy to win a stuffed bear. "You're the best grandma," he said, his smile warm, a high that made me believe we'd weathered the storms, his father's abandonment, my factory years, the endless grind to save my pension. But betrayal had slithered in. My bank called about overdrafts I never authorized. Alone in my kitchen, the faucet dripping like a ticking clock, I found transactions linked to Derek's name. Heartbreak choked me, the scent of my morning coffee turning bitter. Had I raised him to see me as a mark? I whispered to the empty room, "Why, Derek?" A quiet moment came at the community center, knitting with friends, the yarn's soft rhythm soothing my nerves. Mrs. Ellis, a fellow widow, squeezed my hand. "You're stronger than this hurt," she said, her empathy a lifeline in the fog of betrayal. Then the extreme struck. I caught Sarah at my desk, copying my signature. "Just organizing, Evelyn," she lied, but I'd recorded her earlier, plotting with Derek. Fury drove me to the police, my evidence airtight, bank logs, emails, recordings. They moved fast, arresting both. In court, I testified, voice steady despite my trembling hands. "My son stole my life's work," I said, the words cutting deep. Derek's gaze begged forgiveness, but the judge was unmoved. As Sarah wept, I thought of Emma and Tommy, their confused faces haunting me. How could I save them from this mess? After the verdict, I met my lawyer in his office, the air heavy with paper and promise. "Change your will, Evelyn," he urged. "Protect the kids." I nodded, resolve hardening. That night, I drafted a new will, my pension to Emma and Tommy, Derek cut out completely. But as I signed it, a social worker called, "Sarah's fighting for custody from probation." My heart sank, another battle loomed. The notary's stamp thudded like a gavel as I signed my new will, cutting Derek out entirely. "Emma and Tommy inherit everything," I declared, "my pension, $250,000 of sweat-soaked factory years, now their future." Relief washed over me, the office's ink and paper sent grounding my resolve. But that night, Derek's prison letter arrived, his scrawled words heavy with regret. "Mom, I'm sorry, I betrayed you." My heart twisted, torn between love and mistrust. This act of strength steadied me, but his plea stirred old wounds, and a new betrayal from behind bars would test my resolve further. Flashback to 2 months ago, when hope still bloomed. I'd hosted Christmas, the house alive with pine and cinnamon smells, lights twinkling. Derek carved the turkey, laughing as Tommy smeared gravy on his nose. "You make everything better, Mom," he said, his hug warm. Those highs, family moments I'd sacrificed for, kept me blind to the cracks forming. But injustice had crept in. Bills piled up, my savings drained by errors traced to Derek's accounts. Late at night, under my lamp's soft glow, I found his name on unauthorized transfers. Heartbreak choked me, the quilt on my lap heavy with memories of sewing it for his childhood bed. Had my love made me a fool? A quiet moment came at dawn, sipping coffee on my porch, the air crisp with fall's promise. Clara, my neighbor, dropped off a knitted blanket. "For the grandkids, Evelyn, you're their rock," she said, her kindness a balm, reminding me of my own resilience. Then the extreme hit. I intercepted a text from Derek to Vince, the con artist, planning to siphon more funds from jail. "She'll never suspect," he wrote. Rage surged. I forwarded it to my lawyer, Mr. Thompson, who tightened the case. "We've got him," he said, but the sting of betrayal burned deeper, knowing Sarah was complicit too. At the notary's, I felt empowered, the pen steady in my hand as I secured the kids' future. Emma and Tommy deserved better than their parents' greed. But Derek's letter, slipped under my door by a courier, shook me. "I regret it all, Mom, please visit," he wrote, his words echoing the boy who'd once promised to protect me. I sat in my armchair, its worn fabric familiar, staring at his handwriting. Could I trust him again? I called the prison, voice firm. "No visit, he's done enough." But as I hung up, Mr. Thompson emailed, "Derek's contacted a shady lawyer from jail, claiming you coerced his confession." My stomach dropped. Another scheme? I clutched Emma's drawing from school, her crayons bright with hope, and steeled myself. The kids needed me strong, but a court summons arrived. Sarah was challenging the will, claiming I'd manipulated the kids against her. Derek's face flickered on the prison's video screen, his eyes red, pleading. "Mom, please, I need you," he said, but I saw the lie beneath. His request for a signature for parole was another scam. "No visit, Derek, you've heard enough," I said, my voice steady despite the ache. The screen went black, his shock frozen in time. My hand shook, gripping the phone, the cold plastic biting my palm as betrayal's sting flared anew. This resolve anchored me, but Sarah's custody battle for Emma and Tommy loomed, and a darker threat from Derek would soon surface. Rewind to 5 weeks ago, when love still flickered. I'd tucked Derek's kids into bed, reading them stories, their giggles filling my heart. "Grandma, you're our hero," Emma whispered, her small hand in mine. Those highs, moments of pure connection, kept me going, reminders of why I'd worked endless factory shifts, my pension built for their future. But injustice had slithered in. Derek's calls grew sharp, demanding cash for emergencies. I ignored my own health scares, dizzy spells, doctor visits, thinking he needed me more. Alone in my bedroom, the scent of lavender soap faint, I found hospital bills he'd charged to my name. Heartbreak sank deep, the moonlight casting shadows on photos of us at the park, his boyish grin now a lie. A quiet moment came at a support group, the room warm with coffee and understanding. "You're not alone, Evelyn," a woman said, her hand on mine, her empathy pulling me from despair's edge. I exhaled, vowing to fight for the kids. Then the extreme hit. I caught a prison email from Derek to a new accomplice, plotting to forge my signature again. "She's weak, she'll cave," he wrote. Fury surged. I sent it to my lawyer, Mr. Thompson, who warned, "He's desperate, Evelyn. Stay sharp." I'd already given police my recordings of Sarah's involvement, tightening the net. Hanging up after denying Derek's visit, I sat in my kitchen, the clock ticking softly, its rhythm steadying my nerves. Emma's drawings covered the fridge, bright crayons promising a future I'd protect. But Sarah's betrayal cut deeper. She'd known about the pension scam, even helped forge checks. How could she face her own kids? As I sipped tea, the steam curling like hope, a court notice arrived. Sarah was suing for custody, claiming I was unfit due to my age. My heart pounded. Lose Emma and Tommy? Never. I called Mr. Thompson, voice firm. "We fight this." But late that night, a news alert flashed. Derek had bribed a guard, planning an appeal with stolen funds. My hands clenched. Would this nightmare ever end? Sarah's voice cracked in family court, accusing me of being too old to raise Emma and Tommy. But my lawyer, Mr. Thompson, presented bank records, her forged checks, her role in Derek's pension theft. The judge's gavel fell like thunder. Custody to Evelyn Carter. Emma rushed into my arms, Tommy clinging to my skirt, their warmth melting the ice of betrayal. The courtroom's stale air, heavy with tension, lifted as I exhaled, their small hands anchoring me. This victory surged through me, a beacon of hope, but a chilling news alert about Derek's escape would threaten everything I'd fought for. Rewind to 4 weeks ago, when joy still flickered. I'd taken the grandkids to the park, their laughter ringing as they swung high, the grass soft under my feet, scented with summer. "Grandma, you're our superhero," Tommy shouted, his grin wide. Those highs, moments of pure love, reminded me why I'd slaved at the factory. My pension meant for their dreams, not Derek's greed. But injustice had festered. Sarah's letters arrived, manipulative pleas claiming she'd changed. I found her name on more stolen transactions, my savings dwindling. Heartbreak hit in my quiet kitchen, the clocks tick mocking my trust. I clutched an old photo of Sarah at Emma's birthday, her smile now a mask. How could she betray her own children? A gentle moment came at church, candles flickering, their wax scent soothing. Mrs. Ellis hugged me, whispering, "You're their rock, Evelyn." Her empathy steadied my resolve, reminding me I wasn't alone in this fight. Then the extreme struck. I uncovered Sarah's emails to a shady lawyer, plotting to challenge custody with lies about my health. "She's frail, unfit," she wrote. Rage burned. I shared the evidence with Mr. Thompson, who built an airtight case. In court, I stood tall, voice clear. I've raised them with love, Sarah and Derek stole from us all. The judge nodded, moved by the truth. As we left, Emma's hand in mine, I felt resilience bloom. At home, baking cookies with the kids, the sweet vanilla scent filled the air, their giggles healing my wounds. But that evening, as I tucked them into bed, a news alert blared on my phone: Derek Carter escapes prison, considered dangerous. My heart stopped, the room spinning. Sirens wailed faintly outside, growing louder. I locked the doors, checked the windows, the kids' frightened eyes on me. Stay close, I whispered, pulling them to the couch, their small bodies trembling. The phone rang. Mr. Thompson. Evelyn, police are tracking him. He's headed your way. Fear gripped me, the house's familiar creaks now menacing. As headlights flashed outside, my pulse raced. Was it Derek, coming to ruin us again? Sirens wailed as the police called, their voice urgent. Derek's escaped prison, he's heading your way, Evelyn. My heart pounded, hands trembling as I barricaded the front door, the wood's cold grain biting my palms. Emma and Tommy huddled behind me, their wide eyes reflecting the dim glow of my living room lamp. The air smelled of the lavender candles I'd lit to calm them, now mocking my fear. Derek, my own son, a fugitive coming for us. This terror gripped my soul, a storm of dread, but the standoff outside my home would bring a reckoning I never expected. Rewind to 3 weeks ago, when hope still lingered. I'd taken Emma and Tommy to the library, their giggles over picture books filling the air with warmth, the scent of old pages grounding me. Grandma, you make everything fun, Emma said, her smile a high that kept my heart afloat after the custody win. Those moments reminded me why I'd fought so hard, my pension secured for their future. But betrayal's shadow loomed. Late-night calls from unknown numbers rattled me, Derek's voice faintly audible once before the line cut. Heartbreak settled in my bedroom, the quilt's familiar softness no shield as I found a hidden note in Tommy's backpack, Derek's handwriting, I'll get what's mine. Why couldn't he let us go? I whispered to the dark, tears soaking my pillow. A quiet moment came at the community center, knitting with friends, the yarn's rhythm steadying my nerves. Clara, my neighbor, brought homemade soup. We're watching out for you, Evelyn, she said, her empathy a lifeline, reminding me of the community I'd built through years of kindness. Then the extreme hit, a news report confirmed Derek's escape, bribing a guard with stolen funds. My lawyer, Mr. Thompson, called, voice grim. He's desperate, stay vigilant. I'd already installed locks, shared evidence with police, recordings, emails, bank logs. But fear not as I checked the windows, the night's chill seeping through. Now, as sirens grew louder, I clutched the kids, their small hands trembling in mine. The phone buzzed, a text from Clara, police are outside. Stay safe. Headlights pierced the curtains, and a fist pounded the door. Mom, let me in. Derek's voice, frantic, desperate. My breath caught, memories of his childhood promises, bike rides, sunny days, clashing with this nightmare. I grabbed my phone, dialing 911, whispering, he's here. Footsteps crunched outside, then shouts, police tackling Derek in the yard. You're under arrest, an officer yelled as I peeked through the blinds, seeing him cuffed, face down in the grass. Relief surged, but Emma's soft sob broke me. As the sirens faded, Clara rushed over, wrapping us in blankets. But a new call from Mr. Thompson warned, Derek's accomplice is still out there. Derek's screams pierced the night as police wrestled him to the ground outside my bungalow, his voice raw, you ruined me, Mom. Cuffs snapped shut, grass crunching under boots, as his eyes met mine through the window, regret flickering, then gone. The air reeked of damp earth and tension, my heart pounding as I clutched Emma and Tommy, their small bodies trembling against me. The police flashlight beams cut through the darkness, pinning Derek like a trapped animal. This closure felt heavy, a bittersweet end, but rebuilding with my grandkids promised a light I'd almost forgotten. Rewind to a month ago, when hope still warmed me. I'd baked cookies with Emma and Tommy, the kitchen filled with vanilla's sweet scent, their laughter a balm after the custody battle. Grandma, you're our home, Tommy said, flour on his cheeks, a high that made my sacrifices, decades of factory work, my pension scraped together, feel worth it. Those moments kept me grounded, believing we could heal. But injustice lingered. Anonymous threats came, letters slipped under my door, hinting Derek wasn't done. Heartbreak struck in my quiet living room, the lamps glowed dim as I found a photo of us at the zoo, Derek's boyish grin now a ghost. Why had he turned so cold? I whispered to the empty air, tears falling onto the frame. A gentle moment came at the park, pushing Emma on the swing, her giggles mixing with birdsong. Clara, my neighbor, joined us, offering lemonade. You're their strength, Evelyn, she said, her empathy a steady hand pulling me from despair's edge. Then the extreme hit, police tipped me off about Derek's escape plan, funded by a hidden accomplice. I'd shared every email, every bank log with them, my evidence tightening the noose. Mr. Thompson, my lawyer, urged vigilance, he's cornered, Evelyn, desperate. I fortified the house, locks gleaming, but fear not as I tucked the kids in each night. Now, in the standoff, officers dragged Derek away, his shouts fading into the siren's wail. I held the kids close, their soft sobs breaking me. It's over, I whispered, though my heart wasn't sure. The police captain knocked, voice calm. He's back in custody, Mrs. Carter. We're investigating his network. Relief surged, but caution lingered, someone else was out there. As dawn broke, Clara brought blankets, her warmth wrapping us like family. I sat in my armchair, its worn fabric familiar, staring at Emma's drawings on the fridge. The kids needed a fresh start, and so did I. But Mr. Thompson's call chilled me. Derek's sentencing is tomorrow, and Sarah's testifying about another accomplice, someone close. My pulse quickened, who else had betrayed us?